Welcome back to Lawn Dude on Earth. Thank you for listening to the show today. Let's see what topic we get into after the intro. What's going on? Welcome back to Lawn Dude on Earth. This is Micah, owner of Lawn Dude Lawn Maintenance LLC. Your host for right now it's afternoon, but it could be evening, could be night, could be morning. Whatever time of day you decide you want to listen to this podcast. I just appreciate you for listening to it, man. So today's topic is just a truck talk, man. As you can hear by the signal going off right now, I'm on my way to another stop. I don't know how the weather has been for a lot of you in whatever part of wherever you live at. Jeez, I made that saying completely complicated. But whatever area you are located in is what I meant to say. I don't know how the weather's been for you guys, but as you know, as I've mentioned many times, I'm in Northern Virginia, the DMV area, DC, Maryland, Virginia. So in Northern Virginia, we've been getting remnants of the hurricane, which prayers out to everyone who is going through hardship from this hurricane. Thoughts and prayers are with you. It's definitely tough. Definitely tough, man. But we've been getting remnants and rain. So, those who know, and I don't see how you don't know this unless you've been under a rock lately, because if you listen to my podcast, I have complained about this the whole entire summer. And I call it a complaint at this point because it's more so what you're going to do about it. And it's more so a learning experience for me on how I need to change the structure of all my contracts and everything, because it definitely affected our company. But anyways, what I'm saying is we've received so much rain in the past week. It's kind of like, what do you do in those situations? There are so many company owners, those who aren't in the industry, lawn and landscape industry, as we are. I'm telling you that's the industry that I'm in, and we do all grounds, and I call it grounds and property maintenance, because on commercial properties we're doing quite a bit. Like, if sometimes some weeks we may have to trim some shrubs. Other weeks we may have to blow some leaves. Almost every week we have to do some mowing. But we do maintenance. So there's a lot of companies in the maintenance industry that, unless it's a perfect sunny day, they aren't going out. So within the past week, we've had rains on and off pretty much every day. Yesterday, it stayed like a steady mist, like the whole day. I mean, steady. There's a couple times where it was actually coming down pretty good. I'm going to tell you this one time, man. I say one time, but probably won't be one time. There's a lot of companies I personally would advise don't even bother going out. Now, I say that, and then I say how I used to treat them. I still go out a lot of times. I know some people are probably sitting here like, that's pretty backhanded for me to give the advice I just gave. Well, what I mean by that is I consider myself an equipment operator, an experienced equipment operator, rather. And if I'm being completely honest, I actually tell my clients this as well. I tell them I am an experienced equipment operator. So, what I mean by this is I let them know ahead of time when they're signing the contract that there are some days where it might be rainy conditions where you wouldn't expect people to be out cutting grass, that I would actually be out to cut the grass. And a lot of that has to do with me being a solo owner operator. So I really can't get behind. I can get behind a day maybe, but 2 days, that's a struggle, especially with the kids playing sports on Saturdays. That's a day that's a non-negotiable for me at this point, unless they play later in the day, like this past Saturday. I went out in the morning and did a commercial business park condominium development. I did that in the morning, and the kids' games were in the afternoon. So no harm, no foul there. But I know the limits of my equipment at this point. It's like, for example, real time. Today's Tuesday. It's my commercial day. I got steady miss right now as I'm talking. Steady miss. I'm still out here. Been out here all day. I was out here all day yesterday. I'm looking around and there's like no companies out because most people aren't going to work in this. And I'm be completely honest with you. If you're in a position where you could just not have to come out here, I would definitely say don't come out here. If you don't know the limits of your equipment, if you don't know how wet a lawn is before you put equipment on it, I wouldn't come out here. I have some properties that are soaking wet that I push as long as I can, until it's like the lawns I know retain a lot of water. I push them to a day where we get a couple days of sun. Like tomorrow's gonna be the first day where it's gonna be completely clear. So most super wet lawns I've moved to Thursday, along with my Thursday route. I also have a couple where, like last week, because it's been raining on and off almost every day, I had to skip last week just because they were just too wet. So one of those I cut today. I know the properties and I know the limits of my equipment to where like there's one yard that the yard I'm talking about, I push mowed the whole yard and it's probably 7,000 to 8,000 square feet. Um, Most people say I don't push mow. I don't use a push mower. This is an instance where I do use a push mower. I'm not gonna lie. Majority of the time, I want to say it's only one backyard where I need that push mower because of steps. Other than that, it really doesn't have any use throughout the whole year. But when it's wet like this, wet conditions like this, it's that mower's time to shine. So I've been push mowing a lot today in areas. Like I push mowed the whole property, and that came out nice. And didn't have ruts and everything like it would have. And not gonna lie, but I do have that 72-inch mower on duals. It is made for these kind of conditions to the point where I can go over a yard and it basically floats over the yard. But even on the properties where I'm not using that one in particular, that machine, I'm able to cut it with by knowing the limits of my equipment, knowing my properties. I know where to kind of stop and trim the whole area of, or like if I'm not 100% sure, a lot of times I'll grab the trimmer first so I can kind of walk the property and see where it's too wet to get that machine on. There are some areas I will skip just so I don't tear them up. So the way I treat these days is I still go out if I can. Like I'm looking at the radar and I'm not even gonna lie, it's straight up said 12 o'clock midday, it'll stop and it'll be just cloudy for the rest of the day. So like this morning when I had steady rain, usually I'm out at 6:30 a.m. I leave to go to get on my first commercial site usually by 7 a.m. It was raining at that point, so I didn't bother. Took my daughter to school and then left straight from there to go out and do the route. I wasn't expecting to, but it had kind of cleared up. It was more so a mist. So I was like, you know what? I'll go out because I'm not going to listen to the weatherman. Glad I didn't because it stayed pretty clear up until now, which is the time of day where they said it was going to clear up. Now it's back to a mist. So, darn if you do, darn if you don't. You know what I mean? So, yesterday it was supposed to pretty much be clear. Guess what? It stayed steady mist all day. So it's almost like you're better off going out a lot of times because, the weathermen are going off of the radars. They don't always know. They really don't always know. Sometimes it seems like a lot for things to happen and they still don't always know. Like yesterday, I'm out. I kept looking at the radar. I kept saying it's just going to be cloudy. It's just going to be cloudy. I'm looking at I paid for the premium app. And it says cloudy, cloudy. And as it says it's cloudy, it's steady, still steady mist. I mean steady, steady. A couple times more than mist. It was rain, rain. And I'm just like, how's it cloudy? So that's what I mean. Like sometimes you gotta just go out and see what's gonna happen. And this is an advantage of being an owner operator. I'm able to do this. When you have people that you're paying on the payroll, a lot of times I'm not even gonna lie, and I'm tired of saying that phrase. Not gonna lie. I keep saying that. Not gonna lie. And I'm sorry for boring y'all with saying that over and over and over. I be watching programs with my kids, spend time with them, and that's one of the famous phrases that they say on a couple of the programs that they watch. Especially like anything with FaZe Rug in it. That's all they say. Not gonna lie, but not gonna lie, this, that, the third. So now I guess it's stuck in my head, and I apologize to you guys for boring y'all with the same phrase. But anyways, what I was saying is, as an owner-operator, I am able to go out and do properties like this. When I've had guys in the past working with me, I've always had a policy of you do not have to work in the rain. Matter of fact, the rain's in the forecast. Let me know ahead of time you're coming in. A lot of times, they will come in and, I don't force people to work in those conditions. You know what I mean? So, I would, honestly, they want to sit in the truck, they can sit in the truck. But it's something about me going out as the owner and doing the services to where they would just stay out there with me. But, in the past, I could tell, sometimes when the vibe is off, attitude is off, and I'm just sitting there like, yeah, we need to, I just, let me go ahead and take it in early. You know what I mean? So I'd head in early and then it'll clear up. So it's tougher to do when you have people going out for you or if you have employees. I would definitely give you that. As a solo operator, I do find that I am able to go out here on all of these days like this. And I'm not worried about rutting things up because I'm the one out doing the service. And again, I am an equipment operator. Another thing being in maintenance is your equipment. Those who know, I love taking care of my equipment. I am big on this, man. I do not like jacked up equipment. So what pains me is the fact that I haven't been running on my box truck for the past few weeks. Waiting on my mechanic has been out of state for his daughter's wedding. And waiting for him to put a TPS sensor in the box truck. No big deal on most vehicles, but if you ever looked up how to do that in a box truck, it is a lot to it, and I'm at the point in my life and schedule, with this time of year, it being more important for me to be selling jobs, it being more important for me to be providing the production, and to be honest with you, when I'm not doing that, I'm always with the family. Whether it's a game, it's a practice, anything of that nature. So I'm the type that I am mechanically inclined, but looking at all the steps I would have to do to get that sensor in, and knowing that I'm the guy who, once you get to the point of no return, I'm going to see it through. I'm a thorough person too, so I'm actually going to take my time, make sure I do it right, take it apart slowly so I can put it back together the same way I took it apart. But when they're talking about disconnecting, reconnecting, acceleration cables and whatnot, yeah, nah, that's not the best way for me to utilize my time. So I'd rather just go to the truck and trailer. No big deal at all, honestly. So I've been running out of the truck and trailer for the past few weeks, really long in a few weeks, about a month now. And I'm okay with that because fall time I usually go to the truck and trailer anyways because I carry so much stuff between the bagging mower and stand on blower, and I need to get around places faster, which I can do with the Ram 2500. But I say all that to say, because of that, all my equipment is out in the elements. So that is another key. How are you taking care of your equipment, and can your equipment take getting wet? Now, I don't like my equipment getting wet, but for the past week and a half, that's been what's happening. They make this equipment to be able to take rain. So let me go ahead and say that first. They make it to be able to take rain, and yet people like me, oh, I don't want to get my equipment wet. Well, what I do is I run the equipment, I tarp it overnight, whatever. Um, each day, because we're out here doing wet grass, I actually get my equipment even more wet by rinsing it off when I get in. Like I rinse off all those clumps of grass that be all over them, everything. I try to rinse under the deck and everything so that it's not big pieces of grass just everywhere. I literally try to do that so that that is, you know, not just big clumps that can cause damage down the road. Because that's weighted, clumpy grass on top of like pulleys and seals and all that. But no, I don't like, my equipment getting wet. But since I'm not running out the box truck, that's kind of a situation where it almost is what it is. And that brings me to another point. I'm running out the box truck and say like this morning when it was drizzling or it was kind of raining and I'm kind of waiting it out. My equipment was under a tarp. That's another reason why I was waiting it out. So it kind of stopped a little bit, which it did. If I was in the box truck, I'm more liable to take that out to a site and just sit until it kind of slows down. Because your equipment is not getting wet. So you're okay with that. You want to stay out a lot longer because of that. So I say all this to say, it is completely up to you on how you deal with rain days. You don't have to prove what kind of man or woman you are out here. You don't have to be Mr. Yeah, I'm a big tough guy. I work in the rain. I eat nails for breakfast. Because that's not how I look at myself. I'm not Superman out here. I'm just, and I don't want this to sound prideful, but I'm built differently. I know some people are going to take that the wrong way. It's going to rub you the wrong way. But I like to explain myself and what I mean by that. So coming up, working for other companies in the past, I was that guy who, because I was always the youngest guy at every company, you know, even when I was in high school working a full-time job and still having to get the same quota as, these grown men who are working a full day, I've always had to look at advantages. I'm not talking about cutting corners. I'm talking about actual advantages that would give me kind of a leg up. One of those was learning how to work in the rain And there's so many people like in Washington State, this, that, and third, you know, who have to go out and work in the rain because of how much it rains. I took some advice from them. I did a little bit of trial and error because, as you know, my background is I've worked for mowing and fertilization companies, fertilization weed control companies. I learned some things, some advantages working from each of them on how to work in the rain. Like for one, for mowing, you best know it's going to take you longer to cut a lawn because you got to take your time. It's going to take you a heck of a lot longer to clean up that doggone sidewalk afterwards, with all that wet grass all over it. Fertilization weed control. Better make sure that spreader is covered because once that water gets down into the spreader, oh my gosh, it's going to bond that fertilizer together. It's going to be hard to spread it. So, and weed control. Guess what? You can spray that at the max rate when it's, conditions that is somewhat rainy and drizzly because it's perfect weather for it to be watered down to the soil. Also, if you have runoff on a property, it's probably best that you don't spray the weed control that day. It can be the same thing with fertilizer. You got properties too wet, you need to know. So I've come up working for other people in the rain, not just myself. To the point where working for myself in the rain, no big deal. You know what I mean? It's just the way I was brought up working. I've always been labeled kind of like the overachiever at other companies because of this. So that's what I mean when I say I'm built differently. But again, it's no harm, no foul. If you're able to sit out a rain day and you can catch your routes up real quickly and it's not going to affect your income, power to you. Honestly, I applaud you for that. And once again, like I just said, I'm restructuring a lot of contracts going into 2025 so that the income revenue part, no big deal, when it comes to rain days. But the other issue I have, the other reason why I come out here is because I fertilize a lot of these properties. And when it rains, they grow like crazy. So the last thing you want to do is have them off schedule and they're extra tall. So I try to keep everybody on schedule if I can. Even if it's a couple days here and there, before or after, then that's still cool. But when you got to miss like a whole week, whew, that's a lot more work on yourself, a lot more work on your equipment. But my goal is to definitely restructure a lot of these contracts. As you know, I do a lot of them are prepaid weekly, but I also have a lot of contracts that are still on the what do you call it? They're still on that weekly, not weekly, but they're still on that okay, I have a couple. Let me just say it like this, because I lost my train of thought. That's a truck talk for you. I'm paying attention to traffic like I should. But anyways, one option I still have a couple people that are grandfather in that are paying the once a month, charge. It's not many of them. It's maybe a couple of those. I have I have a good amount of people that are prepaid credit card on file. So like this Sunday, I'll charge their credit card from for all the services next week. I actually learned this one from Cornell Mack of the Lawn Care Power Moves and On the Attack with Mac. I got this one from him. Shout out to him. I've started this season, and I like it because every week you have X amount going into your account. You know what I mean? Instead of waiting once a month. Okay, so I'm doing that, and then I've had started a couple years ago, kind of like how I do all my commercials, a 12-month fixed rate. So you add up all their services for the year, you estimate how many mows you're gonna do, and then you divide it by 12, that total number, and that's the number that they pay every month. And still with that, a lot of times I require a credit card, so I'm still charging a credit card once a month. So what I want to do moving forward, honestly, I'm trying to get 90% of the people to be on that one. I mean, yeah, I like getting that prepay, It's nice, but it'd be a lot easier, honestly, if everybody was on a 12-month. I was trying to keep a mix of people who still do that prepay. I might still do that, but I think I'm leaning more towards that 12 months for everybody because the guesswork is gone. Like, services everybody signed up to, you just do it. You do the service, you put it on the schedule, and you do it. You get a rain day, it is what it is. They're paying the same either way. You get a drought, it is what it is. They're paying the same either way. They know you're taking care of them as well. So it's a win for everybody at the end of the day. So I don't know, man. Like these are thoughts going through my head right now. Let me know how you guys are dealing with everything. Y'all take it easy. Y'all be blessed. Peace.
Thank you for listening to Lawn Dude on Earth. We talk about all kinds of things here. The good stuff, the tough stuff, and everything in between. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star review. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Thanks for tuning in, and have a blessed day.